him, kept arm-barring, kept choking him, doing all these different things, but Gracie wouldn't give up.
You know, it's interesting that I wonder that the legends and the, the post-color commentaries and stuff like that are really coming to a kind of a screeching halt, because video and everyone has a virtual movie camera in their pocket now, and you know, there's not a tournament that isn't filmed in some way. And I say film, that tells you my age too. It's all digital media now, just like this camera here, but they're everywhere. So do you think the exaggerations and the legends are going to kind of simmer down? Because you know, you go mouthing off, people nowadays, unless you're willing to get on the mat and get with the program, you don't have BS to float around. I mean, you
No,
yourself.
it's starting to die out a bit.
Well, you yourself, you sat down on a radio interview telling people, you know, because your opinion, strong opinion, you're at 81, you still get on the mat, still does ab work with the young people, but it's a standard you hold. You still got to get on the mat. You still got to do stuff even at 81. Well, folks have to perform.
Yeah.
But it's weird because your career goes back well before even film cameras were being used everywhere. If a film camera was somewhere, it was prearranged. It was like a newsreel almost, you know, the 50s and 60s.
35 millimeter.
Yeah, exactly. And so you rest in two places. You got where people can see you actually doing your thing, like your DVD that you have, and you have the fictional. And I've heard you've got the potentially fictional exaggeration period, and you go into both. You've got people who saw you do things, and thus, you know, eyewitness accounts that make me know that it wasn't BS. But you did exist in that period, and you are considered, a lot of the things you've done are considered, yeah, right, baloney, because they weren't there. People want to see they want to see the replay. And now here you are in an area where you have the replay and people have seen you do things. That's kind of an interesting aspect of your career, you know?
When I went to Okinawa in 1954, we came as a group. My unit was the first Marine Corps unit back on Okinawa since the Second World War.
Right.
It was first, that was Amtrak's, Baker Amtrak's. I was looking for a jiu-jitsu school.
Oh, what's the time period?
This is 1954.
54. Okay.
Okay, I was looking for a jiu-jitsu school, which I'd been involved in jiu-jitsu ever since 1948. I did it as a recreation with some neighbors who happened to be Japanese, and they did jiu-jitsu. Didn't have any of the fancy names that they got today. It didn't have Brazilian jiu-jitsu, Gracie jiu-jitsu, Machado jiu-jitsu, or any of the rest of it.
Or Ernie.
It was, or Kate's jiu-jitsu, or Nekaru jiu-jitsu. It was jiu-jitsu.
Right.
Wrestling. The gentle art. And actually, when I went to Okinawa, there were no jiu-jitsu schools. There were no, but one or two karate schools at the time. Styles. One of them was not Ishanru, or Ishando, as it was known back then. I say again, not. And to break a whole lot of falsehoods up, Ishando, or Ishanru, as it's known today, was
Right.
never an Okinawan martial art. It was taught by a farmer who was a friend of mine, and a friend of my teachers, and that was Sirimuku. He was
Now
And
just so the
anyway,
folks know,
to-
you knew Shimmerbuku. You're speaking now
Oh,
of your presence with him hanging out.
right, in
right?
1955.
These are things you heard. You were there and you talked to the guy.
Right.
Right.
In 1955,
The master.
he broke away from what Shotokan and the other karate forms that was popular on the island at that time. He broke away and he started teaching what he considered a karate or boxing form. And it was different. It had different philosophies. It had different physiologies. The fist that he formed, the way he kicked, the way he moved was different than the others. But it was never taught to Okinawans. It was taught to 4 American Marines in Shimmerbuku's backyard. And those 4 Marines came back to the United States into 4 different geographical areas in the United States, and they started teaching Ishan-Do, the way that Shimmerbuku had taught them. And it grew within the United States, and I was instrumental in getting Shimmerbuku the job through his friend Agena in the village of Agena, a job on the base at Agena, teaching Marines Ishan-Do. And so the teachers that came to the United States and that went to all over the world were Marines, American Marines. It never became popular on Okinawa, except among the Marines. It was not even known as a karate form until 1992. The Okinawans finally said, yeah, Shimmerbuku's got a pretty good deal going. It's called Ishan-Ryu now, the way of. And we'll recognize it now as a karate form. But it was never an actual Okinawan karate. In fact, Shimmerbuku's son, who inherited the art from his father, Nagel used to say, I should have killed the little rat while he was small enough to get at. But
how about the names of the fellas, these Marines and Sensei Shimmerbuku's people? You know?
Okay, there was Armstrong. Don Nagel was the senior of the group there. He was the best fighter. Harold Long. Off the top of my head, I can't come up with the 4th man's name, and I know it so well.
It'll come back to you.
It'll come back to me sometime during the
We'll
conversation.
talk about him in some other way.
But I knew all 4 of them.
Yeah.
I saw them do demonstrations at the staff club in Agena. And they were the first ones, Ishan-Do, were the first ones to wear protective armor and actually strike full out in karate, kumite, or karate randori. What they used was kendo armor. So they had a face mask and they had the shield and the whole bit, and then they would hit full out and try to knock each other down. That's why Ishan-Do didn't play karate like the rest of them with all of their stuff wasn't just tapas. When they kumite or sparred, they hit full out. And when they got back to the United States and Don Nagel got involved, they hit full out without the armor.
Now you had a story. I gotta have you say this to folks right now. You may sound like a sales pitch stunt, but he would punch the pole in front of the.
Oh yeah. When I got back to the States, I was a Nidan. I was a 2nd degree black belt in judo.
Right.
Jumping back in time, Jack Grumbush was a civilian employee of the Air Force.
Right.
He studied judo under Matsumoto Sensei in Goya. Jack Grumbush was the first American to make black belt on Okinawa. Jim Bridges was the second. Jim Jacobs was the third,
Mm-hmm.
and I was the fourth. To make black belt American or Caucasian or non-Oriental to be given the credentials of black belt, first degree black belt on Okinawa. The karate still was pretty much very, very small. Very, very few people studied karate, Americans studied karate. The most active group were the four guys from Shimagoku who studied
Right.
backyard. And they did demonstrations all over the island to show what karate was all about, and they did them full out, boom, in armor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I knew Don from the staff club there in Okinawa. When I came back to the United States, I had already developed a reputation among judo players as a good competitor. 1956, I was one of the 5 that took the Ryukyu Islands Judo Championships away from the Japanese. We were 5 guys that were nobodies.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Grumbush was the senior guy. He was a first degree black belt. The rest of us were brown belts. And we beat the best that the Southern Japanese had in a tournament that took in, I imagine, 20 different teams from all over southern Japan and Okinawa and the Ryukyu Islands. And we beat them, which was unheard of. And then I went on to continue competing and competing and competing, and I happened to keep winning. And when I came back to the States, I opened up this dojo. Jim Giles talked me into, who was a brown belt from San Diego, talked me into going with him and opening up a dojo in Jacksonville, North Carolina. Again, because I was one of the only black belts in judo in the Southeast. I knew Don, and I was bouncing in Jazzland Bar when Don walked through the front door, and I recognized him, walked over and started talking to him. And I talked him into coming to the dojo and working out with us, and then he became a partner in the school. He started Ishan-Do karate in the United States. I continued to recruit martial artists, but mostly judo players, because that was my specialty. I was winning in judo, and I was competing in judo all over. And the school turned out people that are legends in the martial arts today. In 2 years, we turned out some names that are revered within the martial arts.
Yeah,
Revered, rather.
and I got to meet lots of them myself.
Oh, yeah, yeah, and they just regular guys to us. They were just, other players. Howard George, 1960 Olympian in wrestling. He studied judo with us. Of course, Don Nagel, who everyone knew. Jim Chapman, one of the best fighters in the country from Chicago. Rick Namara from Washington, D.C. By far the best fighter that came out of the school. as far as karate went. Ed McGrath, considered one of the best fighters in the country. But then he practiced with Nagel more than anyone else. That's because he was willing to take more punishment than anyone
Just
else.
a second. Just hold that down.